I recently had the absolute privilege of watching Obsession, and I can genuinely say if you have not seen it yet, you should. Please go to your local theatre and soak up every second and detail. It is such an immersive experience. And one thing that made the film so special for me was that it was such a refreshing take on known horror cliches. From wishes that went wrong to the crazy girlfriend trope, this movie was sophisticated and intentional from beginning to end, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. So in this video today, I want to talk about a personal favourite scene of mine. One that I believe redefines the entire character of Bear. This is the "what's so bad about being with me" scene. Let's rewind for some context really quick. So up until this point in the movie, our main antagonist slash ex-protagonist, Bear, has wished on a one-wish willow for his long-standing crush, Nikki, to love him more than anyone else in the world. And since then, she has been behaving as though the wish has worked. Bear has been suspicious of his wish coming true. However, by this point in the film, it is confirmed to both us and Bear that the wish has worked. Which only means one thing: Nikki has no free will, and Bear is aware of it. However, after being convinced or even suspicious about the fact that Nikki has no free will after his phone call with Ian,
"You love me more than anyone in the world?"
and his phone call with the One Wish Willow helpline, Bear just accepts that she has no choice but to be with him, and continues to use this to his advantage. Not getting Nikki help, trying to alter the wish before he wants to cancel it, forcing himself onto her, kissing her, and all while letting her suffer. However, at this point in the film, it has not been 100% confirmed to Bear that Nikki is fully conscious underneath. It's not completely clear whether or not she's been possessed or her brain has been altered, but during this scene, we know exactly what is happening. Bear and Nikki's friends have been getting increasingly concerned up until this point in the film, and have tried to talk sense into Bear, telling him that they believe she's having some type of mental episode and isn't herself. Bear has denied this and says that they're fine. So after being invited to his friend Ian's party, Nikki does this.
Other takers?
It's not me! It's not me!
This results in Sarah, Bear and Nikki's friend who also has a crush on Bear, texting him later that night that he needs to meet her in the park while he's heading out while Nikki is sleeping. The real Nikki wakes up. Now keep in mind that up until this point in the film, her communication as her real self has been in short, terrified bursts of emotion and desperation. However, this time, she's quiet as to not wake up the other Nikki, and she pleads with Bear to help her by killing her. Here's what this line tells us. 1. Nikki has seen it all the romance and the forced sex and destruction that she has witnessed as a passive viewer, forced to watch her own torture. She wouldn't be at the point of being suicidal had she not witnessed this torture and figured out that there was no way out. 2. Nikki has actively suffered the entire time, and there is no relief to her suffering. 3. She has snapped out enough times to have a basic understanding of how the other version of her works. She is possessed by the wish, and when the wish version of her is awake, she has no control. Nikki calls the version of her that is the wish she, showing us that she possibly believes it's a type of possession herself. If you believe you had something like a mental illness or a tumour that was making you behave this way, you wouldn't refer to them as she, you would also not ask for death but a doctor. Which tells us possibly the most devastating aspect of the story. Nikki still trusts Bear. To Nikki, death is her only way out. She's witnessed herself come on to Bear and stalk and abuse him, and from Nikki's perspective, he is also a victim of her possession. Still her friend who is being fooled by this she. Firmly believing this is her only way out, she then asks Bear to help her. I believe after this, in the scene where Nikki, spoiler alert, kills Sarah, it is only then that the real Nikki would have learnt that all of this is what Bear wants, because the fake Nikki is using it against him, and as we've been shown, real Nikki is always forced to watch. However, at this point in time, Nikki has no idea. Now, as devastating as this scene is, it's unfortunately very in character for her. We've seen in the beginning of the movie that she's kind and selfless, and also acts like a bro, which is a personal choice from Indy Navarrete, where she was originally meant to be a ball of sunshine. Indy introduced the grounded kind of dude aspect to the character, if we're taking the words of director Curry Barker.
What she really brought that I really appreciated was she brought a personality trait to the real Nikki that I did not anticipate. I mean, I had written Nikki as this really sweet girl next door, the dream girl of any guy that's kind of like, she's so sweet, she's got a heart of armor and just, but what Indy brought was this like bro-y type of sassiness to Nikki that I didn't anticipate, but ended up working really well for the movie.
And this acting choice from Indy gives a sense of independence and confidence alongside the kind selflessness. So when she's asking to be killed, it's because she can't exist in a body that is harming herself, but also harming other people. It is specifically Nikki's worst nightmare. It's torture for anybody. However, because we got to know Nikki before the wish kicked in, even for that brief couple of minutes at the beginning of the film, we can understand why it's especially devastating for her and why she thinks that death is the only way for her to stop hurting people, aka Bear, and also herself. However, Bear's response not only shows his true intentions and his true knowledge of the situation, but also reinforces that he never loved or understood Nikki specifically, only the idea of her, which I know is a thrown around thing to say, and I will have another video talking about him specifically being obsessed with the idea of Nikki and not understanding her as a person, but relative to this scene, it shows that he has no understanding of her at all. When Nikki begs to be killed, Bear responds with this.
What would be so bad? What's so bad about being with me?
I've never been with you, Bear.
And similarly to Nikki's line, this also tells us multiple things. 1. Bear is aware of the wish and what it's doing to Nikki. People say that he should have said this instead in the wish, or he should have phrased it this way and then everything would have been okay. But I think people are misunderstanding the point of Bear's character. He wasn't making the wish to try and take Nikki's autonomy away from her. It was just a fluke in the moment of what he really genuinely wanted. He didn't actually think the wish would work, and that's why, for a big part of the film, you're watching Bear and you're thinking, does he know the extent of this? Is he fully aware of what the wish is doing to Nikki? By saying, what would be so bad about being with me, solidifies that he has an awareness of the wish and is reluctant to end it. He doesn't say, I could never do that to you, Nikki. He doesn't say, I'll make this right. Is there anything I can do? He has an opportunity to speak to the real Nikki for the first time in ages, the one that he's supposedly in love with. And instead of taking the opportunity to ask her questions, he asks her, what would be so bad about being with me? And when she doesn't give the answer that he wants, he leaves her there, sobbing and begging. 2. By asking what would be so bad, it is confirmed that when he made the wish in the beginning of the film, he didn't expect it to be true. However, he wanted it to be. And that is why he keeps it. So when people online are saying he should have said this instead, or if he had phrased it this way, then it would have been okay and she would have had a choice, that's not the point. He could have phrased it completely differently if he wanted to. It wouldn't have made the situation better. The point is that even if he knew the wish would work, and he knew that the wish could make her love him, he would have done it anyways. Because even in this pit of despair and suffering that him and Nikki are both in, he still refuses to let go of the idea of Nikki loving him. 3. Bear doesn't care about Nikki at all at any point in the film in any way other than being obsessed with the idea of her. And I understand that when you finish the film, or even when you're halfway through the film, or a quarter of the way through the film, you understand that concept. That is what the movie's trying to communicate. It's trying to communicate consent, and if you can take away someone's choice, most people would run away from that and try and do something to stop that because the concept of that disturbs them. But not Bear. He'll have sex with her against her will. He'll date her against her will. Keep her locked up inside his house because she would leave if she had the choice, but he doesn't want her to. And that's the thing about this film. It's all about consent and it's all about choice. It's just not about Nikki's choice or Nikki's consent. She doesn't get a choice in any of the film, but Bear does. He consistently chooses to neglect and abuse Nikki. And for me, throughout the film, I feel like there were a couple curveballs thrown at us where it was he possibly cares about Nikki and just doesn't know what to do in the situation, or maybe he cares about Nikki but he's just desperately selfish. I think they threw us enough curveballs to keep you guessing about his character until the time comes where 1. He makes the phone call, 2. He has sex with her after Ian calls him and places doubt into his mind.
And maybe Sarah's jealous and made that up, but even if you take that out of the equation, this is strange, dude. It's like Nikki snapped into a different person. She's all of a sudden infatuated with you.
And 3, this scene. He doesn't care about Nikki as his friend. He doesn't understand who she is as an individual because he hasn't appreciated her for who she is independently. Yes, he listens to her talk about her writing. Yes, they talk a lot. But when he's talking about why he loves her in the beginning of the film, He's talking about how he can't stop thinking about her and how she's so kind to him. Every quality of Nikki feeds into his delusion that they would be together someday. He doesn't take any of it for what it is, which is just Nikki's personality. But who she actually is doesn't matter to him if it doesn't contribute to their relationship that he makes up in his head. Hopefully I explained that well. I went a little bit of a tangent there. I don't want to take away from what I've just previously said, but I do want to focus on what I consider to be the most detrimental part of the scene. Bear walks away. I'm assuming at one point or another, if you're watching this, you've either had a romantic relationship or a friendship at some point in your life. Could you walk away from your friend begging you to kill them to put them out of their misery? Could you walk away from your partner? When I was first watching Obsession, I was completely immersed. However, upon rewatching, I couldn't help but come out of it a little bit and think about my boyfriend. I care about him as a person more than I care about our relationship. And that's how I know that I love him, the person, and that I'm not just with him to be in a relationship with him. Bear doesn't love Nikki, the person. He just objectifies her as this sweet girlfriend. Bear has gotten what he wants, and what Nikki wants is irrelevant as long as he gets her, because he sees her as an object. At the end of the day, even though he's initially presented as a nice guy that's shy and introverted and just had a really big crush, as the film progresses, we understand the true intention behind him making the wish. And that is not that his phrasing was off, that his intentions were bang on. Because if he could go back and change it, he might, but he wouldn't cancel it.
The air was charged by the distant call of a night bird.